Hello everyone, I'm here today back in front of my tree to talk about my top 10 books of 2019. This is Bookmas Day 2. I'm playing a little bit of catch up with Bookmas. Initially I wasn't going to participate, and then I saw Chanel's video and I was like, okay, maybe I'll participate. So I'm playing a little bit of catch up. I know there's going to be 2 videos that I combine into one because like one of them I don't have enough books to talk about. You'll see in the future. But I'm pre-filming a lot of these, so if you happen to see a lot of this cat shirt or the same makeup, if I decide to change shirts so it looks like I'm filming on different days, pretend you don't notice. Sound good? Now that I'm done rambling about Bookmas, let's get into my top 10 books. None of these are gonna surprise you, I don't think. I think I've talked about these books so much on my channel, but it's a prompt, so we gonna do it. So when I was thinking about the top 10 books of 2019 for me, I kind of just looked at my bookshelf and picked 10 books that I've read this year that like I would recommend to a friend. Not all these are 5 stars. I didn't have that many 5-star reads this year, and so what I decided to do is just pick out ones that I'd be like, oh my gosh, you need to read this to a friend if they asked like what books I would recommend. So that's kind of what I chose to do. So some of these may be like a 4 or 4.5 star. We're not going based solely off the rating because there are some 5-star books that I have just personal attachment to that I like wouldn't say is like one of the best. I don't know. Hard to explain, but enough about that. Let's get into the books. First up, I have With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I think I rated this like 4 or 4.5 stars. However, I loved the representation in this. I thought this book was really well done. Also, I'm a sucker for a good cover design, and the naked cover on this, if you haven't seen it already, but this is the naked cover. So like, I'm a sucker for a good book design. As you guys know, I'm very bad about giving synopses. Is that how you say the plural of synopsis? I'm very bad about telling you what a book is about. So I'm not gonna do that. And yeah, I'm gonna probably make a shelf that's top 10 of 2019. So that's one of my top 10 books of 2019. Also, these books are in no particular order. So like, just because I mention a book before I mention the others doesn't mean that I liked it more. These are just my top 10 books. You're gonna know which ones are my favorite based on how I talk about them. Next up is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Hot take. Like I said, I wanted to do this video series thing because I saw Chanel do it and I was like, that sounds like fun. Chanel hated this book. She just posted the funniest rant review on it. I think every book has flaws, but I really enjoyed this book and I thought her review was hilarious. I love looking at rant reviews of my favorite books because it's fun because you get to see like people go off about your favorite book and you're like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious, because like that's the beauty of reading, is that everybody has different opinions. Like Chanel likes books that I would never pick up, so you know, it'd be like that. But A Court of Mist and Fury, this is the second book in the Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy. I'm reading the final novella, A Court of Frost and Starlight, this month, finishing up in that world, but this is the second book. I can't really tell you what it's about because like it's the second book. However, I know a lot of people may not like this because of the way the first book was set up. I loved Rhysand in the first book. I did not like Tamlin, so that's why I really like this book. I really enjoyed this book because this was actually one of the first books, especially of this caliber, that I sat down and read physically. I was on a cruise when I read this and I read every single page physically, and I never do that. I'm a big audiobook person because I don't have time to sit down and read. So I think I got a special connection to this book because I was able to sit down and read it. Same thing for ACOWAR, but I didn't like ACOWAR. But I think that's another reason I would say this was one of my favorites of the year, just because I have that like connection of sitting down and physically reading it, which is not something I normally do. I need to stop talking so much about these books because this video is already going to be long. I have to talk about 10 books here. Next up is Six of Crows. This is the Six of Crows duology, first book. Very good. Love the dregs. It's very hyped. I thought it lived up to the hype. I gave it 5 stars. So this takes place after the Grisha trilogy. A lot of people say you don't have to read the Grisha trilogy before you read this. I'm gonna beg to differ. This talks about a plot point in the second book of the Grisha trilogy very casually, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a thing. Whereas in the Grisha trilogy, it was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? So like there's a big reveal in that's kind of just like glossed over in here. So I would recommend reading the Grisha trilogy first, but I really did enjoy this. I thought the characters in this were very likable. I love Leigh Bardugo's character development. So I would say this was one of my favorites of the year. Kind of sticking to that same elemental world there, I'm going to talk about Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in the Grisha trilogy that I was just talking about. A lot of people don't like this. A lot of people who read a lot of fantasy say this is just like very like common fantasy very standard. However, I would consider this one of my favorites of 2019 because it's the book that got me into fantasy. Before I picked this book up, I wouldn't read fantasy. I would only read like contemporary romances. And this was the first book I picked up that really had a good bit of fantasy in it, aside from Harry Potter, but like this was the first one. And I now love fantasy and read a whole lot of it, so that's why I would consider this a favorite of 2019. Yes, I can recognize its flaws. Yes, I can see how it could be considered a typical fantasy. However, it holds a special place in my heart. Kind of sticking along with the sentiment, I have The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I reread this book. Like, this was my first reread of it, and I reread it this year during Booktubeathon, I think, or Reading Rush now. I really enjoyed it. I think it's got a bit of sentiment to me. I love the characters and my heart. That's all I gotta say. Next up, I have Love Life in the List by Casey West. I really enjoyed this book and would consider it one of my favorites because I could relate to the main character a lot in this. But I really just enjoyed it. I thought it was a cute story and really enjoyable, and would recommend it to anyone looking for a cute contemporary romance. Can I lump the last 4 books together? I think I am going to. And the last 4 books of this video are all coming together because this was the year of Adam Silvera for me. I have More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera, They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, What If It's Us by Adam Silvera and Becky Albertalli, and History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. This is my favorite book of all time. So myself and my family were at Disneyland in Anaheim, and my sister wanted to go to the store in LA, and Book Soup is Adam's local indie bookstore, and he goes and signs copies of his books there, and it was like 5 minutes from the store my sister wanted to visit, so I got a signed copy of my favorite book of all time. I love this so much. Look. I don't think I've shown this on my channel yet, but I love this so much. This is my favorite book of all time. Very hard-hitting, but I love a good hard-hitting contemporary romance. I love this book so much, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who is looking for a good, hard-hitting novel. And I think my favorite thing about this book is that I love when words on a page can make you cry, and these words on this page made me cry, so would highly recommend. And so that was the first Adam Silvera I had read, and from then on I was hooked. And then I read What If It's Us by Adam Silvera and Becky Albertalli. My sister read this before I did. I have a signed first edition of it. I have a signed edition of almost all of Adam's books except They Both Die at the End, but like there's the signatures. I would say this book is very modern. Very 21st century, 2017 to 2019. It does reference a lot of pop culture. However, I really enjoyed that because I enjoy the pop culture that was referenced. It's very like musical based. I love musicals. So though I wouldn't say this is going to be a timeless novel, I really loved it. And that's all that needs to be said. That's why it's a favorite. And then the last 2 I'm going to kind of lump together. More Happy Than Not and They Both Die at the End. Both of these were 5-star. All of Adam Silvera's have been 5 stars for me so far. I really enjoyed these books and would highly recommend. This one was his debut. I really enjoyed the concept of They Both Die at the End as well. You get a call the day you're gonna die. Follows our 2 main characters and their adventure throughout the day as they both know they're gonna die at some point in the day. So those are my top 10 books of 2019. I would love to know your top 10 books of 2019. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all in my next one. Happy reading!